and welcome to our last live stream of this year. I'm Sonia, for those who don't know me, and I love roses and rose gardening. And I actually planted more than 200 of the roses in my garden. And while I used to speak in this live stream about the past video and a little bit of more insight about that, I think that because this is the last live stream of this year, we should speak about what happened in the garden throughout the whole year, and just to have a little bit recap and have a look how this garden developed throughout the year. But before we start with that, I will simply show you how the garden looked like in July, so that we have the right feeling and can start. And I hope that you have a lot of questions and maybe even want to share some of your own stories or points that you have done in your garden this year. I would love to hear about that. So let's start with the introduction of the garden for those who don't know it yet. And this is actually my garden. And the dog, Lucy. I have Lucy is a dwarf or poodle, and she's a wonderful companion throughout the whole year in the garden. But the garden look really beautiful, and I like to care of it and add additional roses each and every year. And it's kind of passion that usually do not happen over a day or over a night. It's simply something that developed, and it's step by step. And especially when you look back what happened in the year, you will see that actually the whole year was full of small and big um, stuff that you actually did in the garden. And you can see then how important it is just to be patient and grow whatever you like to grow. But for me, it's roses in my rose garden. So, how do you do actually? Maybe you hopefully had wonderful Christmas time and you see it in the background that we still have it here in our house. But last year, the same time, I had actually something that was still sitting in the cellar of this house and waiting. So let me show what I did actually in January and February with what was waiting there. So what was waiting there were actually the spring bulbs, a lot of them. I bought them last year when they were on offer. And because I was quite late, I only got the daffodils. And I was a little bit scared to plant them pretty late. And it was actually 1st of February when I planted these bulbs. And it was just a lot of pots where I had to put it. And the reason why I used pots this year was I did not know if the bulbs that I planted the previous year survived. And it was really nice actually to have it and just planted it there. And the result was stunning. And it was kind of experiment to see how actually everything is going and if it will look like and come out of the earth in the spring. And the result was just stunning. So when you have a look later in May, how everything was in front of the house, it's really very nice. And it was just the yellow ones. The white ones came a little bit later in the pots that you cannot see here, but I made a video about that and about the results. And there seems to be issue with the technique here, so I hope that you are still there and watching. And I hope that the internet connection is enough in this house. So probably too many people are in the house and just watching whatever they want to watch, Netflix. I do not know. But let me continue with what happened later in the year. And this was in April. In April, we went together with my husband Uli to Rose Village, Steinfurt, and bought roses. In March, we installed in the rose garden irrigation system. And when the people came just to install everything, there was one of them, one of the workers, and he was also a rose lover. And I was so happy to speak to him. And he was also like, what kind of roses do you have? And I do not know if you know it, but usually when rose lovers just meet together, they speak about the roses and varieties they have. And he showed me a wonderful variety of a rose called Minerva. I've never seen this rose before. It's quite a new rose. And the color was really very deep purple and so wonderful that I decided to buy this rose. And this is one of the roses that I planted in a pot. And there were other that I actually bought, like the dwarf rose Heidi Klum, and one of my loveliest roses, Souvenir de Gravelle. Wonderful rose that you can actually put even in a half shade area. And I just matched this rose with all the other roses that uh, because it has just changing color, a little bit of pink, a little bit of lavender and white in it, and it just connect all the areas of my garden. So is there actually something or a rose that you yourself actually have bought and planted in your garden this year? Something that you would say this is a new variety and you were very excited about? Because honestly, I'm already thinking about new roses for this garden. And I got a Christmas present from my family, which I really very much loved. And the Christmas present is actually a voucher to buy roses. And I was so happy about that. Actually, already the next day after Christmas Eve, I was searching in the catalog and was thinking about new roses and new rose beds. But we may speak about that maybe later. So I bought them, I planted them in the pot because there was no place in my garden at that time to plant them. And the result was wonderful. So later in June, it looked like this when the first flush came from these roses. And you can see here the Souvenir de Gravelle, the pinky one, smaller one rose with a huge amount of bloom in there. But in the back is the Minerva. It starts the bloom in a very pale lavender, and later on it gets this really striking purple color. And the more purple, smaller rose in the front is the Heidi Klum dwarf rose. So perfect purchases. I'm very happy with them, and I will leave them in the pots next season as well. So let's come to what happened in May. Have you ever been to Rose Village Tynesford? Is someone of you just as big fan of this Rose Village as I do? Actually, in May, I went to, and we have a comment. Oh, Anna. Just before we continue, let's speak about the question, or let's answer Anna's question. So I unfortunately did not buy any rose last year because I only have a small balcony. Do you have recommendations for a balcony? Oh, actually, all these roses that I just featured in the pot are pretty well for balcony. And there is something that you, my dear friend, can actually consider for a balcony if you have a very small space, to put them in a pot, a little bit of drainage down there, and put them the roses planted there. And if you have a balcony, usually it has some kind of railing. So if you want to have a wonderful rose on your balcony, you can buy wonderful tree rose, so standard rose they are called. And this is a perfect opportunity just to make wonderful rose garden on a balcony as well. The only thing that you probably should consider if your balcony is a kind of, if there is windy, a strong wind, to put it in a good pot so that it cannot just turn around and drop. But I could only recommend you to buy a rose as a standard. And the kind of rose that you can buy is actually up to you. I always think that first you have to, the very important thing is to look on the etiquette, on the label for the rose, whether it is a rose good for a beginner or for someone who already has some experience with roses, and also whether it's a good rose in terms of resistance. So like this is important, and then you just go for your color, whichever you like, and the kind of bloom what you want, whether you want very classic one like the English roses with very strong scents and big blooms, or whether you prefer the smaller ones like fairy that I like a lot, or the little white pet, one of my favorite standard roses that I have in my garden. But thank you very much, Anna, for your question. Are there any other questions? No? Then we will continue with the May. And I've already showed the picture. This is still another. Huh? Okay. Now it's gone. So in May, there was a wonderful event in Rose Village at Rosenparkträger, and they called it English Garden Days. And honestly, I love English gardening and all the roses and rose gardens with the manners that they have, wonderful historical places and rose gardens around it. And not to mention the Albrighton Garden of David Austin. I really would like to go there one day just to see the beauty that they have there. But Rosenparkträger had these English days, and it was simply wonderful. And we went there with my daughter Eva. You can check the video as well if you are interested what we saw there. And it was a wonderful day and full of inspiration. You know, I really like to go and visit gardens, rose gardens, just to get the right idea about the next step in my own garden, to get the inspiration and be motivated by the beauty what they have around. And sometimes it's simply pretty good to see how the different colors actually match together, whether the feeling is good or not. And also just to see how the rose look like when it's already just after first 2 to 3 years and it's actually grown up. And this is important if someone of you is a beginning with roses, to know that roses, when you buy them, nearly every time they are pretty small. But this is the first year that they have, and they can grow very big. So therefore, it's so important to read the label to see which one is just a dwarf rose that will grow only just like 60 centimeters high, or if it is a rose, shrub rose that will grow 1.5 meter. And according to the label, then buy your rose for the place you want to in your garden. And as I've said, it was so wonderful day. I liked it a lot. But actually, in May, end of May, my rose garden started to bloom too. And this is one of wonderful roses from David Austin I have in my garden, Olivia Rose Austin. And it simply looked just stunning. I was so happy to have it in front of my house. And because maybe there is so warm, this rose was blooming already in May. And next to another David Austin rose, Tess of the Herbavilles, that I really like a lot. I have it on the obelisk, and I have to say that uh, the fragrance of this rose is really this old rose fragrance. And every time when it's blooming, it's just so nice to smell it and go around this corner to work and back, and just back from work, and just smell this rose. So it was on the one corner of the house, and on another corner already other roses were blooming. And here are not just only roses, also the perennials, foxglove, and the not bluebells but bellflowers, and it simply look wonderful. Next to the rose on the winter garden, you can see one of my favorites, rose on an obelisk, and it's the Guirlande d'Amour. So I hope that you like these roses as well. And in June, it was simply continuing to bloom, and it's always so nice for everyone who breeds roses and have them in their garden. The time, May, June, July, it's the first flush of the roses, and it's so nice to enjoy it and just see and smell and just hear how the garden is actually, or sounds, with all the birds, bees, and even the dogs, and laughing of the friends if you have them with you. And I simply like it. And you can see actually that here on the left hand side, the sitting area, and it was also one of the new areas that we add to the garden while we installed the irrigation system. Because I found out, and this is also extremely important, if you have an area in your garden that you do not use, or it's not looking good, or we had just some berries in there, but no one ate them. It was just only work to clean this area every year, and it was sad. So this year we decided to put the just sitting area, and with this bench, And it's not just only for sitting, it looks good and provides the garden beautiful feeling about just the garden itself and the harmony. And here in front of the garden, in front of the winter garden, it was also just wonderful. And here the fontaine that I added to the garden this year again simply made wonderful feeling in the garden with the water as water element, which is always very good if you can add. July. July started with a lot of work. Usually in July, the first flush of the roses is over. So you actually have a lot of work with cutting back, deadheading, and the more bloom you have, the more you have to deadhead. And for the beginners amongst you, deadheading is so important. You just cut the bloom that is over away so that the rose, if it's a repeat blooming rose, can repeat the bloom and repeat it much quicker and do not create hips. So a lot of work in my garden. And I had a rose, actually standard, which was pretty old one, and you can see it here on the picture that how often it was already cut back. This rose was here before we actually moved into this house, and it is more than 13 years back. So really old one. And I really do not know what happened. I know that we have a lot of field mice here in the patio, so maybe something happened with that. It simply died. So we decided to go and buy a new one. And honestly, I like this area. And I like this area in the backyard. And the rose, because the rose created just a fairy tale feeling just next to the bench that is there. So we decided to buy the same one. But when we went to the Rosendorf Steinfurt, where I usually go and buy my roses, I had my very first time with our classic car blue. It's a dream of my husband, Uli, and he likes it a lot. And it's Mercedes-8. So for those of you who love a little bit of nostalgic driving, and we actually drove there together. It was my very first time, and it was just a adventure for me because I did not know how to start car that is old like this, and it was simply, yeah, it's always a little bit new thing if you are used to new cars and just do not know how to start or how to stop the car. But it was a fun, and I really like this car, and I'm quite sure that I will drive it in the future again. So we went there to the Rose Village Steinfurt, and I bought a replacement of the rose. And just few weeks later, I planted it, and it looked like this when it was finished. I can only recommend this rose, just the fairy, to everyone who is new and beginner in the world of roses, because the fairy is very nice, very simple, good for beginners. You can buy a fairy like this on a standard. Great, Anna, for your balcony if you want to add it. If you like the pinky rose with a lot of clusters, but it's also available like as a small shrub rose, and is repeat blooming rose, looks simply great. So going to August. Second bloom of roses came, but also a lot of perennials. They came already in May and June, But during the August time, especially when the roses, some of them were just pausing in the summer pause, there was this wonderful perennial just life in the garden, in the rose garden. And therefore, I actually add perennials to my roses as a complement that do not compete with them. And here is the wonderful Geranium rosan in the back, and in the front, the roses red Leonardo da Vinci and Jacques Cartier. And it looks simply beautiful in the garden, also with the anemonas here on the side. September. We are already in September and you do not have any questions. I would love to answer them, and not just only the questions. I would really like to hear, how was your summer in your garden? Was there anything new or anything special that you want to share with me? And if not now, I'm happy to read the comments and answer the comments later. So put them down once this live stream is over, and I just am really looking forward to see what was up in your garden this year. So in September, we went to the Rosenparkträger again in Steinfurt. And what I wanted to see is not just only how beautiful this garden looks at that point of time, but if my garden is kind of not competitive, I would not say competitive, but I always see how the roses look over there and how they look in my garden, and just if I see differences, that I try to make it better every time. So I went to the Rosenpark, and it was simply beautiful. But I would say looked same for the roses that I have in my own garden. They looked same in their garden. I was so happy about that. But it was still beautiful. And the good thing is, if you go there in this time of a year, like September, there are not that many people around. Probably a lot of people do not consider to to go there, and I liked it so much because it was just only 1 or 2 hours that we had to film the video that I did, and it was simply great. And October came. October, it's for me, it's sometimes quite hard. I do not know if it's for you as well, but October is time when everything starts to calm down and becomes more dormant, and only few roses still bloom here and there, but the leaves are done. And yeah, for me, October is not my preferable month, put it this way. But there was a rose actually that I bought for my wall in the back of the garden. And the rose is called Perfume Silueta. Wonderful color. And here you can see it when I bought it in June, I think it was. So great rose, but I simply haven't had the time to plant it in my garden. So last time, usually in autumn, fall, it's so good time to plant roses. So I did it. The two roses, the two varieties, or two roses of the one variety, are now planted in the back next to the sitting area. And with these two roses, I started to design the back part of my garden. And I'm really looking forward to change it a little bit the next year. But these roses needed to be planted before the frost comes. And November, December, it's just everything calming down. And we did a lot of cleaning up in the garden with all the leaves. You probably, if you have garden, you know what I'm speaking about. And the whole garden actually turned into a lollipop lollipop landscape with all the roses that I packed and protected before frost, as it is right now. And as I've said, the year is over, but it's starting again. Today I just planted the bulbs that I bought again. This time a lot of tulips and daffodils, and then planted them in the bed and in the pots, just to have the nice bloom before the roses will come again next year. And I like it so much. And there is so much to share and so much to do in every garden, and for sure in mine, because I have so many ideas and would like to buy so many roses and add them into my garden. Well, I probably have to prioritize, otherwise I will not have that much space, and they would need to find a place in a pot. So I am the whole year in my rose garden. We are over. I think just to wrap up everything, it was a very good year. And before I go, I would like to thank all of the people who helped me to take care of this garden, all the people who built and helped me to build the irrigation system here, but also the people who helped me by the lake. I did not mention it today that often, but by the lake, you can find the videos on the channel. We renovated a lot this year, and there were a lot of people who helped us to build it, to rebuild the shed and rebuild the whole area. So thank you very much, Matej, for helping us. And here, I also have to thank you, thank to my family, to my daughters, and to my husband, Uli, who just helped me to film all of this wonderful garden stories that I could share with you today. Do you have any questions? Does not seem to be the case. So we leave it here. I wish you very best into the next new year. That your roses are blooming, are free of every green fly and any disease, and simply your garden will look like as you wish to. And with that, I see you in the next video. I see you next year, and I wish you all the best for 2026. Bye bye.